If you're expecting a river cruise to be like an ocean cruise, then you'd be wrong. In this video, I'm going to be covering why and what sets them apart. Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Kofo. I'm a river cruise advisor and your guide for all things river cruising, including river cruise tips, the ships that sail on the rivers, the destinations that they travel to, and the experiences you can have while doing a river cruise. So whenever I'm working with travel clients, helping them find and choose their first river cruise, one of the questions I usually ask is, have you ever done a river cruise before? And I usually get an answer that's kind of along these lines. Yes, I've done a cruise before. In fact, I've done over a dozen of them. I've done the Med, Caribbean, Alaska. I'm even thinking about doing an expedition one. I don't even know. What cruise line did I travel with the last time? Honey, do you know the cruise line that we traveled with back when we went to Alaska? And then I pause because that's not the answer to my question. River cruise and ocean cruising couldn't be any more different. In fact, let's just get into the heart of the matter. River cruising and ocean cruising are cousins, not siblings. They have the same last name, Cruise, but they're from different families. I hope that makes sense. If that doesn't, let me know in the comments below. So river cruising really marries the best of the world of two types of travel. So you've got cruising, which we just mentioned, and coach tours, which is a land vacation. So you get the ease of unpacking once, never having to think about it again. Your hotel basically floats with you, and your restaurant and dining venues float with you as well. That's really the awesomeness of cruising. And then on the other side, you get the structure in terms of the delivery of the destination experience and the excursions from coach tours. You marry those two together and voila, you get a river cruise. So let's get into the why and the distinctions between a river cruise and an ocean cruise. All of the differences you would ever see in a river cruise boils down to this one thing: size. Let's start with the ship. I mean, it's very obvious. An ocean cruise ship is significantly bigger than that of a river cruise. You're basically looking at a condo building at sea versus kind of like a mini yacht. That's how I would describe the scale of the size of the ships. In fact, when I was doing my first river cruise, there was a Royal Caribbean ship that was leaving Amsterdam at the same time as we were. And when that ship was approaching us, we looked like dwarfs, basically, compared to this massive, massive vessel. And that wasn't even the biggest one that they had in their fleet, at least according to my guide in Amsterdam. So with those size differences in the vessel, it then filters down to other things in the cruise experience. And let's get into them now. First up, because the river cruise ships are smaller, it allows you to be able to travel to some really unique destinations that are just not possible with an ocean vessel, especially in countries like in Vietnam, Cambodia, in Egypt, where the smaller vessels really take you further along in the river. This then means that you can really explore inside of the country rather than just around it. In fact, if you check Wikipedia, the definition of a river cruise is called inland cruising. This also means that the ship can dock in nicely centrally located docking locations, rather than just a scrapyard that is like miles away from where you want to visit, or perhaps just floating at sea, which I have to say looks really cool. But with a river cruise, you can dock right in the heart of your destination, which, for example, could be like Amsterdam or Cologne or even Budapest. The smallest vessel also lends itself to a very intimate experience on a river cruise. With passenger capacity of about 100 to just under 200 passengers, you really get this experience that is very close-knit. In fact, if you're on a river cruise and you're traveling on your own as a solo traveler, you don't ever feel like you're lonely, in the sense that you do get your own personal space because you're traveling on your own, but you have friends that you can hang out with, people that you can chat with when you do feel like you want to be more social. Now, if you have a travel partner, well, you just get to make new friends. If you're the kind of person who's going to get bored just staring at the ocean or just staring at a large body of water and looking at nature is more of your thing, then a river cruise might be a better fit. Because the river cruise ships are traveling within a country, it gives you access to lots and lots of scenery. And I'm talking about eye-level scenery, whether it's you're in a standard cabin or you're in a balcony cabin. Granted though, if you're short as I am, I'm like 5'5", you might have to stand on your bed or on your couch in your room if you're in a standard cabin, because those windows are a little bit higher up. Either way, you're still going to get some form of scenery regardless of what cabin you're going to be in your room. And there's always the top deck where you can get 360 views. So in the river cruise industry, this is usually termed as sea days instead of sea days. Catch the pun? This also means that river cruising is more destination focused and port focused. Get the opportunity to actually explore the towns that you're visiting or the major cities that you are visiting. Now let's move to inside the vessel itself. With a smaller ship, river cruise lines have to get very creative with how they use the space that they have. All river cruise ships have to be a certain width and a certain length to be able to fit into the locks that they pass through. So locks are these engineering kind of marvel that help with water management along the rivers, and it also helps the ships move through different elevations as they're moving from one country to another. Now, while all river cruise lines, for the most part, their ships look the same on the outside, the inside is a little bit different. So obviously they have to factor in where you're going to sleep and your bathrooms, but they also have to put in where you're going to eat, where you're going to hang out, if you want to exercise, where you're going to do that, and just overall how your experience on board is going to be. What you'll find on a river cruise is main dining room. Well, a lot of cruise lines, there'll also be an alternate dining space, which is more for like lighter meals. A lot of cruise lines call this al fresco. Some do have specialty restaurants. You would also find that there is a sun deck, which is mostly for relaxation. Some have pools, some have hot tubs. Rather than the spa, some of the river cruise ships have massage rooms. Outside of that, if you are looking to work out and let's say the weather is not kind of agreeing with doing that on the sun deck, then there is a fitness room. Other amenities that you might find that are different in a river cruise are things like laundry, access to medical help, things like shopping centers and shopping areas. A lot of cruise lines would have like a little shop where you can buy things like, Tylenol, Strepsils, typical like a hotel reception, if you forgot something at home. And of course, if you want to buy the branded merchandise of that cruise line, you can buy that in the shop. With regards to medical assistance and getting medical help, because you're traveling within the countries, river cruise lines usually have access to a network of doctors and healthcare centers that they can take guests to should they need medical help. Again, the ship is so small that there's really no space for them to put a full-blown medical center like you would experience on an ocean ship. Now, when it comes to laundry, some cruise lines have laundry available for guests, some don't. But pretty much all cruise lines have laundry service available. Usually comes with a cost. Some of it, it's free depending on which cruise line you're booking with. But all in all, if you're doing a really long river cruise, like a 2-week river cruise, that's something that you should know that it's available to you. Entertainment is also different on a river cruise compared to an ocean cruise. Whereas on an ocean cruise, you might be more familiar with theater production. With a river cruise, it's totally different. Most river cruise lines would have an onboard musician who's there to really create the ambience in the lounge. So anytime you walk into the lounge, there's always some kind of music, kind of like moody music when you enter a very nice restaurant playing. And then in the evening time at night, the onboard musician would play whatever guests would want. Sometimes in the evenings, the cruise lines would also bring in local talents to be the entertainment for that particular day. But it doesn't really go beyond that. It's not anything majorly fancy, but I find that it's just nice and calm. It really creates an environment for you to really be in the moment with the people that you're actually spending that vacation with. Now, one thing about ocean cruising that I can't really get over is the thought of massive waves tossing a humongous vessel like a ping pong ball in high sea. If you understand what I mean, please raise your hand in the comments and let me know. That I find super intimidating. It's super terrifying. But here's the thing. Your risk of motion sickness, seasickness on a river cruise is very, very, and let me just say it again, very low. If you've ever been concerned about if you're going to be motion sick, if you don't do very well on boats, which I learned when I took my aunt for her 50th birthday, this might be an option that works for you. River cruising is pretty smooth sailing. Sometimes you don't even know that the ship is moving, but it actually is. And that's something that really helps with the calming experience of what a river cruise is like compared to an ocean cruise. Another thing that is different between river cruising and ocean cruising is the level of service and access. Now, when I talk about level of service, I mean from when you arrive at your destination to when you finish your cruise. Most river cruise lines usually have transfer service available. So you either get picked up from the arrival airport or from your hotel if you're booking hotels with them, or if you bought separate transfers that is taking you to the ship. You're literally met at your taxi when you are dropped off, and somebody takes your bags and handle those for you. I think that just makes you feel so much better than having to lug all your stuff. You know, kind of like when you're boarding a plane and you have to do everything by yourself. River cruising kind of takes all of that and they handle all of that for you. They make sure that your bags end up in your room. Even when you're disembarking, all of that is handled for you. Now, when it comes to access, I'm referring to how easy it is you can get on and off a ship. It's literally like walking in and out of a hotel through the revolving door. You might have to pause a little bit, maybe to scan your card so that they know that you're back on the ship. But for the most part, it's super easy. There is no herd lines. There is no 2-hour wait just so that you can get off the ship and you can start exploring. The river cruise experience is also a very adult experience. And what I mean by that is on the ocean cruise side, where there is a lot of river cruise lines that cater to families and kind of all the way from like little kids to teenagers and then to adults. And then there's some that are just pretty much fully adult experience. With river cruising, you're looking at mostly an adult experience, very more mature adults. And I would say rather than classifying people by age with a river cruise, I would say river cruise is really for people who value their time and really invest in their time. The age range really with those river cruise could be anywhere from 45 to people who are almost in their 70s. It is older, obviously, compared to what you would see in some of the river cruise lines. And there are very, very few river cruise lines that cater to young families, for example, like Tauk, Adventures by Disney, and Uniworld. And those programs that they run for families only run really short periods, like during the summer months. Now, while the river cruise ship allows you to have a small, intimate experience, the size also impacts the cost of a river cruise. Now, river cruises are more inclusive, so you would have your accommodations, of course, included, your meals are usually included, drinks are included, your Wi-Fi is included, at least you would have an excursion that is included. There is more stuff that is actually put into the actual package that you're purchasing. But again, because the ship is small and there's only so many people that can be on that ship, it also means that the cost is a little bit different than what you would be familiar with. I find that people usually get a sticker shock sometimes when they are new to river cruising because they don't realize, one, it includes a lot more in the cruise experience, but it's just because the economies of scale is also smaller. If we were to assume that the cost of operating a river cruise ship and an ocean ship were the same, and I'm not saying they are, but if we were just to assume, just for example purposes, that they were the same, with an ocean ship, you can spread that cost across more people. Like if you were spreading that cost across 2,000 people, it brings the cost down a bit per person, versus a river cruise where you're just spreading that across 100 to 150 people. I hope that makes sense. But then again, it can be all relative because there are some ocean cruise lines that are really on the premium luxury side that kind of, when you look at the cost, it's on par with river cruise ships. With knowing the differences between a river cruise and an ocean cruise, what exactly can you expect in your river cruise experience? I've put all of that in a handy guide for you, which I've put the link in the description below. So you can head over there to grab that. It covers everything you should know from before your departure, when you're leaving for your river cruise, what you can expect during your river cruise, and much more. If you have any questions or you need some help with planning your river cruise or picking your river cruise, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My email address is below. Till then, good luck.